Can you modify cowboy boots? Yes, you can. One of the great things about boots is that you can make them your own. There's a ton of things you can do to your boots that they tend to fall into two broad categories, easy and hard. In this video, we're going to dive into those, show you the stuff you can do at home, and show you the things that we might recommend you go talk to a professional about. But enough with the intro, let's get to it. Let's start with some easy maintenance. So you're going to wear your boots, you're going to beat them up. If you're wearing them right, you're going to beat them up at least. And they're going to get nicks and scrapes and cuts and all sorts of stuff. So the great piece about this is that you can fix and touch up everything yourself. So stray threads, get that lighter out and just burn them down. If you've got some loose embroidery, you can put the flame on that too and tighten it up. Most of the thread that's used on the boots is going to be nylon based. It's similar to that they use on sails. And so when you get heat near it, it kind of shrinks up and pulls in. And so if there's anything loose, you can fix that right up. Scuffs and scrapes, if you've got a smooth polished leather, you can get some of the Chisos leather balm. You can put that on it. You can cover up most of those scrapes and scuffs with just a little elbow grease. Now, not too much. You might take some of the dye off, but you can blend in just about anything that's going to happen. And now, if you get a deep cut, I'll give you a little inside baseball here. What a cobbler's probably going to do is going to super glue that back together and then use balm to smooth it out and then polish over it, and it'll probably look good as new, and nobody's the wiser. So you can do that trick at home yourself. Another thing that I like to do when I'm polishing my boots is I like to add edge dressing to the edge of the sole and the welt. As you're going through life, that dye on the edge of it kind of gets knocked off and it reveals the natural tone underneath. And so I have a habit of going and returning that back to the way it came new. Now, go in the opposite direction from touching up the welt, you can actually reveal more of the natural dye on that. So it's going to be a natural leather underneath it, and we dye it either black or caramel or whatever the color is. You can use a Dremel or sandpaper and take that off and return the natural look to it, and it's going to give some nice contrast between that and the leather. It looks pretty good, especially with dark leathers. And that kind of gets us into the next stage. All the color modifications you can do. Another thing that we've seen several of the Chisos community do is they take their tan rough out boots and they dye the entire boot black. So you can do a lot of different colors. There's black, there's maroon, Aggies. There's burnt orange if you're wise. But there's a lot of things you can do to make that boot match the color that you would want it to have. And then when it comes to our brush brown, you have the ability to lighten it. So the Chisos brush brown is tanned twice and is hand buffed to a finish. So each one has its own unique marbling, its own unique texture, but you can modify that. So just by using a rag as some of the leather balm and some pressure, you can pull some of that dark dye off of it and it's going to lighten the boot. The inverse is also true. You can get dark polish and you can darken it up by putting black onto that surface layer. So there's a lot of things that are done in that level. You can even create a marbling look. So, and if you got any questions about that, I recommend you join the Facebook group for Chisos and ask the questions there. The community is pretty experienced in modifying the color of their boots. Modifying the color and playing with these different chemicals, make sure you test a small area. Things like acetate will definitely hurt the boot and dry it out. But most leather polishes that are going to be formulated for finished cowhides are going to be fine. Shape is another category that you can modify. One of the things that we've seen is people actually smash out the toe box. So the Chisos square toe, for instance, is kind of a modified medium square toe. But some people want more of a flat French toe look. And so you can smash that down and kind of compress that toe box and get the look that you want. Another thing is that some people wear, let's call them modern jeans. They're a little skinnier than the jeans that I might wear. But one of the things with a cowboy boot is that the shaft has to be big enough to get your foot in and around that bend because there are no laces. But one of the things you could do is take a page from bull riders and use a boot strap to kind of cinch down that boot shaft to fit tighter to your calf, and it'll fit underneath your thinner jeans. And so there's a couple options from leather bootstraps to Velcro. You can use a shoelace, you can even use a zip tie, but that'll give you a lot more options in terms of what you can wear. I will admit that I do this when I wear my dress slack. Let's talk size and getting the perfect fit for you. One of the great things about Chisos is we have a proprietary removable comfort insole. Say that 5 times fast. And one of the things this allows you to do is you can actually pull it out and add your own custom orthotics to the boot. So if you've got something that's from your doctor that you want to use, Chisos are already sized to fit that. Now, I will say a lot of people actually replace their custom orthotics with our insole and they find great success. So I recommend that you try the Chisos boot the way it is first, but you can always remove ours and add yours. Finally, let's talk about getting that perfect fit. So let's say your boots are a little too large. You can add a very thin insole underneath the Chisos insole. So you would pull our thick one out, put the thin one in, add the Chisos one back on top, and that's going to have the effect of cinching up the boot, making it a little bit tighter fit. Let's say that the front part of your foot feels fine, but your heel slips a little loose. You can cut that little thin insole and just have a section for the heel, or you can buy heel insoles only that are like a half sole, put that in, and that'll lift the rear part of your foot so that it fits tighter against that vamp, but it leaves plenty of room for your toes in the front part of your foot. If the boot is too small, just a little bit too tight, there are a lot of options here. So first of all, you could take our insole out and put in a thinner insole entirely. That's one option. But there's a lot of things that you could do before you get to such a drastic step as doing away with the Chisos comfort. The first one is pretty simple. Wear 2 pairs of socks, put those boots on, wear them for a couple of hours around the house, loosen them up, and then put back your normal sock on and see how that works. A lot of times, just stretching out, giving that little bit of extra oomph at the beginning makes a big difference. Another old trick is the baseball trick. You can actually pull out the Chisos insole or even leave it in and shove a baseball down under the vamp, let it sit there for a couple hours or even overnight, and that will greatly loosen up that vamp leather. Now, make sure you don't overdo it. Another thing you can do is you can get a cedar boot tree and wrap tape around that tree to then make it fit larger into the boot. Similar to the baseball trick, this will then stretch that leather overnight. And with all of these tricks, you can even buy boot stretch spray, which will accelerate the loosening process. All right, let's talk about some of the more complicated modifications. Now, you could probably do these at home, but it's going to take some specialty tools, and so you might want to talk to your neighborhood cobbler. Now, your Chisos boots are made to be repaired. So just like brakes on your vehicle, the leather soles will eventually wear through. This does not mean that the boot is shot. You should just resole them. So you take that to a cobbler, they will pull that off. That's why we have a leather welt, to make sure you can resole it. And so they will replace that for you. Now, when you're getting your boots resoled, you have some options. One of the options is to add a full rubber sole to the bottom. So you can put a leather one on there, or if you want more traction, or you're going to be doing things in more wet environments, we recommend you get a rubber sole added. There are a lot of different tread patterns too. You can get pretty aggressive ones or very minimal ones. I'd say this right here is about in the middle. Before you wear the sole out though, you can also add a rubber sole saver. So this is a strip of rubber that gets glued onto the bottom of the boot when you first get them. This is going to, as the name implies, save your leather sole and make it last longer. It's also going to provide extra grip in those wet environments, or just extra grip in general. Now, one of the more intense modifications you can do is changing the height of the heel. So let's say you bought a Cowboy heel and you want to turn it into a roper. Your cobbler can pull off that rubber heel cap and then actually peel away some of the layers of the heel stack. That heel is stacked layers of leather, clip the nails, and then put the heel cap back on. This is going to have the effect of then lowering the heel for you. Some of the things to make note of though are that this is going to change the dynamics of the boot. It's going to change the arch support. It's going to change the angle. So it's not something we recommend. However, it can be done. If your boots are hard to get on, or let's say you have an injury or something of that nature, you can add a zipper to your boots, and that's going to enable you to put them on much easier. When you're adding a zipper, you can also then make the shaft more narrow if you want to fit under those aforementioned modern jeans. When I designed a pair of Chisos boots, I put a lot of care and thought into every detail, but it still makes me happy to see people modify them and make them their own. So if there's something that you've done that I didn't mention, I want to hear about it. Join our Facebook group, post a photo, and let the whole community see how you've really truly made Chisos your own.